the Ministry of the Environment and on those facilities. The natural fit is for this information to be stored within a university library. We also have an archivist.
You're on the way to be a university.
And we're on the way. We are making great strides in that regard. And we have a really world-class, I don't know if you have an opportunity to visit the Harry Seymour Library, but we have folks come from all over there. They're really stunned by the progress we've made. Those who may have seen the library when Eric and I were there a little while back, but we have a world-class and a first-class library. And we have the facilities to store that information, to catalog it properly, so that when we look at future studies, we can build on this. But to speak to the environment, sustainability, and natural history, it's really one of what we identified as one of two main prongs within the pure and applied sciences that we're looking at. Health is one of them, and also sustainability and natural history. We have to protect our health, and we have to protect the health of our environment. And so it is crucial as a country that we put more emphasis and more resources into this, and that we establish partnerships. BNT has been a tremendous partner with the College of the Bahamas, and we're working and have worked on other initiatives, and it's really a pleasure to be able to work with BNT in this way. And we look to really make this a strong partnership. Every year they have the conference, we're finding that they're strengthening the partnership.
Absolutely. Well, this is good. I see where the top sponsors of the event, which is not actually open to the public, College of the Bahamas, the Atlantis Resort on Paradise Island, the Bonefish and Tarpon Trust, a Florida-based fisheries conservation group, which is also contributed by $10,000 to help to underwrite this event. How important is those kinds of partnerships overseas and the rest of it? This particular
So obviously money makes the world go around, and money makes these conferences happen. Without the support of our generous sponsors, we couldn't do this. This conference costs a lot of money to put on. We couldn't do it unless we had COB making available the facilities at reduced or free. We couldn't do it without significant injection of funding, like Bonefish, Tarpon, and Trust. Bonefish, Tarpon, and Trust is an organization that does a lot of research in the Bahamas, and they work with a lot of anglers in the U.S. And so to give back to the country for the research that they do here, they made a generous donation. And this is the second year running that they have actually supported the conference at a high level. The Atlantis has always given us a really nice reception. And this year, once again, they're going to give us a good reception, which is fitting of our featured speakers. And of course, the conference is going to be officially opened by the Right Honorable Perry G. Christie, and he's opened all three of these conferences. And he said that as long as he's available, he certainly wants to be involved, because he understands the importance of sharing this information with the general public, with Bahamians, so that people get to understand, what is happening in our country. The theme of the conference is reversing the decline, Steve.
Yeah, I see that, and I want to ask about that, because we're talking about reversing the decline
of the species, of the environment. The work that we do as an organization protecting national parks, the work that is done by trying to restore conch populations, or to keep conch populations or group populations healthy, the threat that we're facing from climate change, we need information, scientific information, all these people that are doing this research, to come and inform the decisions that the government of the Bahamas and other organizations need to make to indeed try and stabilize the environment in our country.
Is enough of that happening, though? I mean, is enough of that happening, all things considered? We hear so many things about this, the impact on the environment in this regard and that regard, especially with new developments throughout the entire country. We know that there must be progress, and this is one of the impediments. This is one of the, I should say, one of the setbacks of progress. A lot of times you've got to go into some areas that you may not want to disturb, that you may want to, but at the same time, we understand all that. So I'm asking Eric, and I'm going to go to you as well, Dr. Watson, about are we understanding as a country, are our decisions being informed by the wonderful research and the knowledge of those individuals who are doing this research and presenting and saying, look, you can't do this because of X, Y, Z, and how do you think that we're faring as a country? in that regard?
I would say we're making progress. We certainly are making progress. I think more of this information gets fed into environmental impact assessments. More of this information gets fed into decisions about creating protected areas, national parks and marine protected areas, forestry reserves. So the science is informing decisions to help protect our country, and the science is also informing some of the environmental impact assessments. Running a country is very difficult. A country that you're trying to develop and trying to create jobs, etc.
Trying to create that balance.
And we have some disasters. We have some environmental disasters out there that if we had the information available to us, we probably could avoid the type of disasters that we've seen in some of these countries, in some of these islands. You can do development, but if you have accurate science, which says what the limits of development should be based on the limits that an ecosystem could sustain, you might be able to still do your development, but you may have to scale it back. You may be able to put a marina within a creek system, but the science may tell you to leave one whole side of the creek natural, so that even though there are boats may be coming in and a part of it might be impacted, if you leave the rest of the creek healthy, it can still function as a nursery. So those types of decisions, we need more science being figured into it. But I would certainly think that I would say that I've seen where more of the science is making its way into decisions, but no, we still have a lot more work to do.
And Eric is exactly right. And there's always this tension between development and sustainability in the environment. I mean, it happens everywhere, and we are not unique to that. We are unique in the sense of this is probably one of the most pristine and beautiful places on the planet, and we have over 700 islands and keys, and trying to preserve those and think about future development is a challenge, and that's why it's important as the University of Bahamas, the College of Bahamas transitions to university, sustainability is a major part of that, and we have a program in sustainability. We also have a building that we will be breaking ground on, thanks to a generous donation from Campbell Shipping and the Freedom Foundation, and that's almost a $10 million grant, which is one of the largest that we've gotten at the college. And so it shows where the commitment that we are going to place in that area. So we're looking not only at just traditional degree programs. We have some very innovative degree programs that really speak to our national needs. We also have space for research in there, so that it's not just research that is happening in sports, but we are creating true research agendas, very focused, long-term, that we can continue to build on, to look at what are the critical areas, looking at design, urban design, looking at island design, looking at things like environmental testing, and looking at the connections to business is an important, we can't neglect that, ecotourism. So it's a very, we have some really interesting and innovative plans moving forward. And key to that is also working with the BNT and other partners to guide the kinds of research and the kinds of educational programs that we will have moving forward.
It may be interesting at this time around if there are going to be people making presentations. You have more than 80 papers, I see, where Bahamians and others will be making presentations. I've been just noticing that we see a whole lot of new things happening in the Bahamas as a result of our trading, as a result of new things coming to the Bahamas in developments. We see new species of lizards and all kinds of stuff that is happening here. I'm hoping that this will also be a time that we will see a presentation on the kind of impact that is made in our country with new species coming into. I was out by the dock the other day, for instance, and I am trying to bring this where the average everyday Bahamian can get involved and understand what we're dealing with here. And they were telling me, say, man, Steve, we got a new fish out here that can make a nice sandwich. So I say, okay, because I like fish. And he says, well, we have this new, you remember the lionfish came out, right? We knew of that. And we saw how we were able to grab them and make some nice delicacies, right? But this guy, they're now catching by the hundreds right at the dock, at the Molecule Wrap and the Polsky dock, a fish that they call the leatherfish. Now, I don't know if you've heard about this, but it's a very thin fish. It's family to the turbot, and you can skin it just like you skin a turbot. and it is very meaty, and they say it makes the best fillet for sandwiches. And the fishermen out there, little boys and teenagers, catching them by the hundreds and supplying them to local places that want to, but there's not enough information on that. We know the fish is not poison, that kind of stuff. But I'm just saying, as a big man now, I can call myself old and all that. I've never seen this fish. It is something that's new, that's into our waters. It's there by the hundreds and by the thousands, I suppose, and they're easily caught, and they're supposed to be sort of succulent. Now,
I've never heard of that one.
yeah, the leather fish. So this is because you remember we talked about the lionfish. And we said how it was very, very poisonous for the prawns, the spines. But of course, the meat is succulent. And then I went and I got some of that, and it was very, very nice.
Absolutely,
good stuff. And you need to try this. And I'm saying that would be an interesting paper for someone to take a look at the impact. Where do we come from? How come there's so such abundance?
Well, I'm sure some of my colleagues are listening, and I'm sure they've made a note of that. Then we know it's one of our science officers. We'll ask him to look into that for us.
But what's interesting, I mean, in addition to all of the marine species that we have, we still do not, and Eric can correct me if I'm wrong, we still do not fully understand the components, the nutritional components, and many of our traditional fruits. What's in a juju? What's in a hog plum? What's in a sea grape? We talk about getting things for it's high antioxidant, right? And you get blueberries, but we have a very rich natural environment, and that's one of the areas at the college that we are will be investigating shortly. Acquiring equipment. I mean, we need to do a full inventory of the nutritional and medicinal components. Values. We have a lot of this oral. We have a lot of oral and maybe qualitative research that's been done, but that kind of research, could fill many journals the world over.
No question about it. And you may find that we may be the captain of some of these things that we export. Right. We know about the Castor and the bark and all that. And so we see all the other things that come from that, the healing value, the medicinal value, and all of the other stuff. But I'm saying here, we want to encourage, I suppose, the average everyday person to get involved. And so if there is space for them to be a part of this kind of a conference.
Yeah, and so it is a conference with a registration fee. So for students, teachers and students are free. BNT members, $10. So if you want to come for just $10 for the entire week, that includes all your registration material. It includes coffee breaks, $10. The daily rate, just for a person who wants to come in for just one session, is $50. That includes your coffee breaks, all of your material, and the entire conference for the entire 4 days is $100. And Steve, it's worth it. I'm telling you, I consider myself to be somewhat knowledgeable in this field, but every time we've had these conferences, I leave there with a headache full of new knowledge, and also we've had a lot of discussions with a lot of the professors, the scientists. One, we have a lot of students from COB who are going to be participating, so the talks have to be professional, but they have to be able to be understood by the audience. So anybody can walk in. So we're encouraging people from the Ministry of Environment, Department of Environmental Health, Public Parks and Beaches Authority, architects, engineers, anybody that has anything to do with a job that may be impacted by or enhanced by science. This is like an immersion course for you, and we encourage people to come out and take advantage of this.
What's the enthusiasm level like at College of the Bahamas University by those who may be presenters this time around, who've been doing their own research and are looking forward to? What's the enthusiasm level like?
I've had an opportunity. I'm a physicist by training, so I'm not immersed directly in the area, but as dean, I interact a great deal with students and, of course, faculty, and I have really interact with some of the students, and they're very excited. You can tell the opportunity, because this conference is so well organized. I mean, when Eric Dose approached us, was almost like a year ago. They had put everything in place, and so they have an opportunity to really speak to a wide audience, to meet Many of our students are interested in going on to graduate schools. So it's also an opportunity for them to network and meet faculty and professors from all over the United States. And we have folks from the United States, Canada,
absolutely,
the United Kingdom, as well as other agencies. So they're very excited at the opportunity to showcase in front of their colleagues and to also meet some of the international presenters and participants.
And it's an excellent forum. As an example, we invited Dr. Nicola Virgil. As you know, the Bahamas government is embarked upon a national development plan process, and Dr. Virgil Rowe, brilliant young Bahamian, is leading that process. And so she's doing a presentation because what I felt would be useful is that she can present to those people and then start to identify, some of the data needs that she might have. And these people, I'm telling you, these scientists are looking for opportunities so that this science can inform decisions. We have Sean Ingram, who's the CEO of the Juan Eleuthera Foundation. They do a ton of work in Eleuthera. But Sean's going to present on what he's doing there and talk about a training facility that they have in Eleuthera as well. So you're going to have Christopher Russell, who's the director of forestry. He's going to be presenting on forestry initiatives that are underway in the Ministry of Environment at the Department of Forestry. So any number of opportunities for people to network are presented at this conference so that people don't just come and hear a presentation, but they listen and see how it maybe impacts their area of work, whether you work for the Department of Forestry or the Bahamas National Trust, and then you create the linkages.
Now, I was looking at a press release that I got. It says that the Bonefish and Tarpon Trust has been working with BNT and others to identify the project, identify and protect important bonefish habitats. And that is a very important thing here. They are looking at that, protecting the important bonefish habitats in the Bahamas over the past decade. They've been doing so. And according to the trust, Justin Lewis, who've been talking about this, according to specialists, the fly fishing industry contributes all this money, $141 million a year to the Bahamian economy. So just how important is this partnership is what I want to get at with the Bonefish and Tarpon Trust working hand in hand. And we've got all kinds of bonefish flats throughout the entire Bahamas and all kinds of youngsters who are now involved in it. How important is this affiliation?
Absolutely. So what Bonefish, Tarpon and Trust has been doing is they basically tie bonefish. So they put a little transponder in a bonefish. So and then they put a bunch of receivers along the coast of an island. So they're able to determine how this bonefish is moving. Why is that important? Because then they're able to document what areas are important for feeding and foraging. That's where they're caught. So they'll be able to identify where the good areas are to catch them. But perhaps more importantly, they're able to also identify areas where they spawn. So as an example, they tied the bonefish up on the north shore of Grand Bahama, That bonefish traveled all the way eastern Grand Bahama, down along the Marls, the west coast of Abaco, around Sandy Point, towards Hole in the Wall to a spawning aggregation, more than 150 miles or so. So having that information allowed us to feed into the proposals that we were putting forward for new protected areas. So that was able to tell us that, the north shore of Grand Bahama is important, but if you don't protect the area around Cross Harbor, is the area around just east of Sandy Point in Abaco, if you don't protect that, you're not going to protect the species. So the ecology is important, and the ecology informs the economic aspects, because the fishing guides in the Bahamas obviously benefit from taking people to these special areas. So being able to understand what's happening with this important species, and that's just one species. But we also have people presenting obviously on things like Nassau grouper, people presenting on birds, people presenting on plants, etc. And it's all interlinked. And when these people provide the information to the government of the Bahamas, whether it's through the BNT or directly through agencies like the Department of Forestry, the Department of Marine Resources, that helps to inform policy decisions on how, what needs to be done to ensure, whether areas are created as national parks or forestry reserves or marine protected areas, or indeed how to set catch limits. for areas outside of these protected areas. It's very, very important and involved process.
Sounds very, very comprehensive. Sounds like you're about to have a very interesting time of dialogue and presentations. This is the third Bahamas Natural History Conference. It's going to be coming up on the 14th through the 18th at the College of the Bahamas in Huntsville. And of course, so many people are participating and will be a part of that. And the whole key here is for you to get interested. Sign up today, I suppose. $10 if you're a member of the Bahamas National Trust, and $10 of paying the whole 9 yards for everything. And of course, you can also register for $50 per day. You can also be a part of it for the entire week, which is like 4 days, Eric.
Yep. There'll be 3 days of presentations, opening ceremony, and then field trips.
It's free though for it's free for students.
Free for students and teachers.
And of course, there's celebrity scientists. Part of this in 2014. Well, we see a lot of that again this time around, people coming around, mingling, encouraging people to do these kinds of research and even giving them some focused topics to look at in areas of research that is very, very important right now.
No, absolutely. So, of course, I mean, Dr. Watson identified how involved COB has been in this process, and it has really been refreshing. I'm a proud graduate of the College of the Bahamas, soon to be university, and I always look for ways to give. I don't have a lot of money, so I give a little bit, but then I try to create partnerships for the students and the faculty. And I think this is an excellent opportunity. We've developed, I think, a first-rate conference that now COB can really champion. And when we met with Dr. Smith, the president of the college, he and the faculty that were there underscored the importance of research to the college. And in fact, Dr. Smith threatened to take the conference away from us. They had to grab and hold on to it.
I thought you agreed that we could do
partial. That's the reality, because it really should be something that a university of a country should be leading and steering.
Absolutely, and he seems to be on board nonetheless. Dr. Rodney Smith is quoted as saying that it's the third time that they're hosting the conference. They're looking forward to it as a major event.
Absolutely.
So that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we're talking here today with the Dean of Pure and Applied Sciences at the College of the Bahamas, Dr. Carlton Watson, young man who's made a good name and made a good inroad in the country so far, and we're happy to see that he's home doing stuff. This way he's born and grown,
Right.
and we didn't lose that one. At least, let me say not yet. Let me knock on wood.
Yeah, right from Camp Road.
Yeah, right from Camp Road. And he's home doing a number of things. We're happy. And of course, Eric Carey, also our special guest here today. We're talking about the third Bahamas Natural History Conference that's going to take place on March 14th through 18th at COB in Oaks Field. We'll tell you a final few things in just a minute. Let's go and pay a bill. And when we come back, we'll give you some notes of interest here that you may be interested in, and even call some names of some people who may be great presenters that you may want to jot down and go and be a part of when the conference opens on the 14th of March. This is Hard Copy Special Edition today, a little education here for you to get you moving in the right direction of being involved in your country from an environmental point of view. And this is always important. We're back after these words. I suppose I'll be on for an hour.
Yeah.
copy. We're running up to 7 o'clock here this evening. Well, actually 6 o'clock in this first hour. Eric Carey is with me, and he's, of course, the managing director over there at Bahamas National Trust, executive director. He's been doing a fantastic job. We are working with them to make sure that you get this right information on the upcoming Natural History Conference. We're also talking today with Dr. Carlton Watson, and we're happy that they're both here because they're trying to really drum up support for this big conference that's going to bring a lot of people to the Bahamas, as far as those individuals with name and clout in the environment and the sciences, who can in fact influence more people to come and do other things. They want to bring people there to make this a major hub for research and marketing, and also presentations of new information found and discovered through the research. And so this is going to be big. It's well sponsored by Atlantis and Bone Fish and Tarpon Trust out of Florida, and of course Atlantis Resort, the College of the Bahamas, and many others, I'm sure, who have been a part of this, as the Bahamas National Trust has helped to organize and keep it going for the last 3 years. Now, of course, you heard them say earlier today that they're looking at reversing the decline, and delegates will get a chance to speak to such issues, whatever they are researching in those papers, and talk to it from a point of view of trying to have us as a country sustain what we have and, in fact, progress on it and not regress on these things, I suppose. And I wanted Eric and both Dr. Watson to talk a little bit about that, because there are some areas of concern in the Bahamas that we do have, where there's, lots of concern about what we are doing, conservation, and there's some concerns. Let's talk about those things in these few minutes here.
Well, basically, like we touched on earlier, in a country like the Bahamas, we're facing any number of threats. So we're facing, obviously, threats from development, and we have to figure out as a country how we balance development with protecting the environment. The looming threat of climate change. And again, I know the Minister of Environment has actually asked us to have a special session on climate change. So we will have a special session on climate change at the conference to try and take advantage of all these people who are here studying and presenting their information, to talk to Bahamian decision makers within the Ministry of Environment about what climate change really means for these islands. Steve, people in our islands don't realize, and the Prime Minister talks about it a lot when he speaks it internationally.
Yeah, I saw him at the United Nations.
3, 4, 5 feet loss. I mean, 5 feet of loss. You've been to all these. Andros, half of Andros is going to disappear. Places like Popol Track, where I live, just because of global warming and associated sea level rise, more intense storms. How are we going to defend our coast? Build more seawalls? Those are going to be inundated. So trying to understand why it's important to try and reverse the decline of species, of the environment, of the impacts is absolutely important. So this is why this theme is very appropriate, and we hoping to present throughout the spectrum of science what's happening with our country. We're going to be talking about land crabs. And land crabs are going to be affected by things like climate change, because they depend on certain types of habitat, which it disappears because of climate change. Gone are the land crabs. We're going to be talking about soldier crabs, and what is the importance of soldier crab as a scavenger, which cleans up a lot what's left. So it cleans up the earth naturally. But all those things are going to be impacted by climate change and the loss.
Soldier crab in my neck of the woods.
This island, they're probably almost gone. Every blue moon you might find them. So understanding what's happening with a species like that and why it's important. We're going to be talking about the history of logging to understand, what happened and how can we avoid mistakes from the past to inform, some of the new logging initiatives that the government is undertaking now. We're going to be talking about, we've seen die-offs of mangroves. Mangroves have been dying in places like Abaco, and people have been studying that. So we're going to get a report from a scientist who's been studying that, who's going to make some suggestions as to why that is happening and why is that important. That the information that person presents may help us as a country to identify where this may be happening in other islands and be able to hopefully prevent and ward it off.
We're going to be recording all this stuff, right? So that we can show it back, and because you talk about sharing the information.
We're going to record. Every session is going to be recorded by a professional videographer, and it's going to be edited and made available on a special video channel, YouTube channel after the conference. So sometime in the months following, we will be setting up and then releasing these videos. So for people who were not able to attend, they'll be able to go in and search by theme, click on a video and watch it, watch it at this leisure. They're going to be not very long videos. The presentations are, 20 to 25 minutes, and there'll be some question and answer period. So we'll record all of that. So wonderful opportunities for Bahamians to participate even after the conference.
Yeah. I would also like to add that the importance of the conference is not just what happens over those 4 days, 3-4 days, but the impact that it will have moving forward. We had a smaller conference with international guests, and from that, we had COB faculty who were able to liaise and network, and to then extend and to conduct some of that research and get the knowledge and equipment so they could actually wrap up their research. And to follow up on, I mentioned that two of the major prongs that we're looking at the college within the Faculty of Applied Sciences is health and sustainability. Well, obviously there's some overlap, and I can immediately start to think about some of the ways in which we can blend some of those things. I was recently at the Sustainable Development Goals for Health conference, and while we talk about the impact of climate change, because that is really the looming threat out there to our natural environment, but also it's going to impact our health. You're looking at Zika and a lot of
the Zika virus right now.
Right, and so a lot of there's a need for a lot of research to be done and how we're going to really manage this problem, because the Bahamas stand to lose the most, even though we may not contribute significantly.
Yes,
right?
Because of our tourism.
Because of tourism, and because of the low-lying nature of our islands and where we're located. So I just want to emphasize that climate change is one of the really core areas, and it touches the natural environment as well as health.
Well, Doc, a lot of people, Eric, when they hear about climate change and all that, it seems so distant, it seems so foreign. Like, what are they talking about? We are beautiful in the Bahamas. We may have some rain every now and then. We don't really get hurricanes, do we? We don't. People are so laid back on these kinds of things, and so I wonder how you're gonna break through that particular glass where people become more open-minded and more embracing of the information, and then get themselves more involved in what all they can do, because there are things that we can do every day to help in protecting the environment from a number of things. And then we have to look at the aspect of those who are in the islands, and they've been hearing all this scary talk that, boy, another 20 years you may not even see some of these islands out there in the southern Bahamas and so forth and so on. And we just sit back and, we don't get involved. We're not engaged in a lot of ways. And I'm wondering, how are you going to break through that particular city to get people to understand just how important all of these things are and how they impact our daily lives?
Yeah, like I was saying, Steve, we are going to have a dialogue at this conference on climate change, and the ministry will be represented there by people like Dr. Rihanna Neely, who is another young Bahamian PhD scientist who has a degree focusing on climate change. People like Philip Weish is going to be there. So we're going to start a dialogue there, because we know we have to address the apathy that you just spoke about, that people have about it. So we're going to have a discussion there and hopefully come up with a strategy for moving forward, because we know we have to have a lot of education, because there are things that people won't notice because it isn't going to happen for 5 or 10 years. And then in 10 years, someone's going, wow, suddenly now my floor is disappearing. We went to look at an office downtown today, and the guy told us, I used to have wooden floors in there, but I had to take them out because over the last 10 years, more and more, they're seeing moisture. So the wood was destroyed. So they had to put down, concrete flooring to already fight the impacts of sea level rise. You go to certain islands and people tell you that some of their land has started to disappear. So we know that we've had these subtle increases. And the scenarios vary. I mean, there are people that tell you that in 30 years is going to be drastic change. Others say it's further out, 50 years, 100 years. But it is inevitable. I mean, what's up for discussion is that, are we already too late? If we do everything that's possible, will we still save our fragile islands? You know, we hope we can. And so what we have to do as a country is to do what we can locally. But as Doc said earlier, and the minister always talks about, and the prime minister talks about, we have a very small carbon footprint. We're not contributing to this global problem, but we're going to be the most impacted. So therefore, our voice must be heard loudly around the world.
Right. You talk about apathy, and this is one of the great reasons I love to be in the university environment and working with young people, because they're going to have to be, they're the ones who really got to be impacted, and they're going to be,
no question
they need to understand the consequences and to make their voices known, to make their contribution. So working in a university environment, we have an opportunity to educate the next generation of leaders. For example, I teach a course from time to time called Energy, Society, and Environment. It's important when you talk about the issues of climate change and scarcity of fossil fuel and energy, etc. And students are, a lot of them take it because they need it, just needed to graduate. But at the end of the course, many of them tell me how the course has really impacted them. Changed the way they think about it. Right, that's perspective. And many of them are going on to be, because a lot of them are non-scientists, they're going on to be teachers, they're going on to be politicians and lawyers, and having that additional information will impact how they influence how they carry out their duties, make them more sensitive, or sensitized to this critical area. So I think that's important. And the other good thing is we also have the opportunity to have as adjunct and part-time instructors some of the key scientists within our communities teaching at the College of the Bahamas, so they can interact directly with them. And so I'm hoping that at some point, Eric will make time for us to perhaps teach a course or something when the schedule slows down or something like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so understood. Yeah, I was going to ask you a couple of things before we go, and one of those things was the impact of global warming and sea level rise on the actual coastal, I suppose, environment and the kind of lifestyle in the Bahamas and many countries, but in particular, we see a lot of people moving to coastal living, and we saw the impact of the hurricane walking the other day in the Southern Islands that impacted those with coastal living. These are the kinds of things that we need to have as a regular conversation, because a lot of people are still believing that the best thing to do is to go to build right on the coast, even though we hear the Bible talk about those who build a house on the sand, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm saying, what's the attitude like these days of people moving interior, more so than making advances for what they call progress, to be living on the coastal side of living in the Bahamas?
Well, Steve, after Hurricane Joaquin, you would have heard some of the decision makers speak very decisively because of the knowledge that they've gained, realizing that it doesn't make sense to rebuild in certain areas. Now that is offensive to certain people, and people misinterpret anything you put out there. And so, people start, they're trying to tell us where we can build, and they're trying to move us away from the coast so that, the rich people could come and buy it. Well, and so part of it must be planning, whereby if we're going to encourage people to move back from the coast, those areas need to be declared no build. So, and zoned for no build, so that when you move people back from the coast slightly up the hill, you at least reduce them from the impact of flooding for every storm. Major category 5 hurricanes, yes, are probably going to impact everybody. But maybe a Cat 1 or Cat 2 or a high tropical storm may not completely flood them. But if they are absolutely on the coast, of course, even with a tropical storm, you could be inundated with salt water. So yes, we're going to have, as a country, we're going to have to adapt, and we're going to have to move to places. Some places have higher ground. Unfortunately, some islands, they can only go up 2 or 3 feet. Some of these communities, you go to certain communities, they basically live on the beach.
Yeah, I noticed you said earlier when we were talking about this, for this big conference that's coming up, and I'm sure we'll talk more of it in the future, the 14th or the 18th, you talked about the involvement of designers and architects and all that kind of stuff. This is important in the Bahamas because of the trade winds that we get. But we don't build that anymore in the country. Everybody's like in a concrete jungle. We're building AC foundations and all that. And I was always wondering, I grew up on Infantry Road, next street over, on a hill. That the house was wooden, that it had natural air conditioning. It had holes in the floor. And of course, it also was built on stilts. And I'm saying today, we don't see that kind of a thing in here on this island of Providence and in some of the other islands. Everybody's now getting into this hard concrete foundation and all that. I suppose all of these things are seriously impacting what we are doing in the Bahamas. And we're not capturing all of the wonderful things that we get naturally, since you're talking about natural history. Naturally, we get that nice breeze. Naturally, we can get some things if we have the verandas all the way around. I see 1 or 2 houses built like that now out west in certain communities. But we have gotten away from that typical way of doing things. How important is that to what we're talking about?
Well, I'm glad that you touched on that, Steve, because one of the major components of our Small Island Sustainability Program is architecture and urban planning. And in fact, we will be moving to a 5-year architecture program. Right now at the college we offer a 2-year associates. We will be looking at a 5-year bachelor architecture degree that's coming on stream in very near future. And one of the key areas of that, or focus within that program, is sustainability, because it meshes directly with the Small Island Sustainability Program. And so a part of that is to program, the objective of that program is also to train the next generation of designers and architects on how to design using our natural environment to our advantage. Not all, what happens in big cities or in some developed countries may not be appropriate, as you mentioned, for our environment.
No question about it.
So that's something that's exciting. And I also want to mention that there's a major project going on in Andros with the coastal zone management. That's an area that we're seeing a lot more research. I know the government has invested in a group doing a study through the national development, part of the national development plan, a group from Stanford, I think, with Bahamians.
So we're not just laid back here.
No, there's a lot of activity, and that's why we need the university focus to show all of the activity that's happening and to document it.
And you need to also get more information out there, exposure like today, because we've learned that the National Trust, along with College of the Bahamas and the university, doing a number of things with other international partners and Atlantis and others to bring about the kind of
a lot is happening.
Yeah, but we would never know that.
Because of the realities of other national priorities. I mean, crime is takes the news. Same-sex marriages, whether that's intended or not, takes the news. That becomes issues. You name it. So many other things happen.
Somebody just right now.
What the government isn't or is doing, NHI, all of it takes priority. But the reality is there are other important parts of the government's work which is advancing, like an integrated coastal zone management, a national development plan, an ecosystem-based management plan for Andros. A lot of this is happening because the government does understand, notwithstanding the other issues they have to deal with, that there must be a commitment to so many other things.
You as the National Trust and the other experts must keep inundating them with the correct information so they can make informed decisions when it comes to what we're going to do about sustainable development and the environment of our country. Listen, we are looking at this Natural History Conference. It's organized by the Bahamas National Trust. Every 2 years, they say, will take place this year, the 14th through the 18th of March at the College of the Bahamas in Oaksfield. You can go down and be a part of that. It's well sponsored by some wonderful people, and the registration is $50 a day, $100 for the entire conference. BNT membership will pay only $10 to attend the conference, and COB faculty and students will actually they may register for free and be a part of all this wonderful stuff. And it may be good listening to sit down and hear some of these papers being presented on various things in our country at this particular time.
Yep. And Steve, you mentioned that the platinum sponsors, but I really be remiss if I didn't mention other sponsors. Gold sponsors, National Audubon Society, also gave us $5,000. The Nature Conservancy, one of our strong partners locally, $5,000. And then we have other sponsors. SCV Consulting, a Bahamian consulting company led by Stacy Mutri, 2,500. The Shared Aquarium, one of our partners, 2,500. And then we have a number of other bronze sponsors, Majestic Tours, who is helping us, which is helping us a lot with moving people around. The Hilton gave us some really good discounts for our special guests. The KP Luther Institute, Harborside Marine, Terrell Hall and Associates, Micronets, The Green, Le Petit Gourmet, Bahamas Waste, Adastra Gardens, Waypoint Consulting, Juana Luther Foundation, Dolphin Encounters, Fisheries Conservation Foundation, and One Source. They're all valuable supporters, sponsors, and we couldn't do it without them. I'd like to thank them all for their support.
Absolutely. Well, we'd like to thank both of you for coming by today to share the information. Dr. Carlton Watson and, of course, Eric Carey. And they've been working it. I'm supposing that you'll hear more from them in the next 4 days as well, as they get to drum up some interest and some support for all of us to be a part of the Bahamas, the third Bahamas Natural History Conference coming up on the 14th through 18th at College Bahamas. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Steve. I'd like to encourage everyone, please, maybe people would kill me if I don't mention membership. Please go online, bnt.bs, and consider being a member of this great organization. Absolutely. Individual memberships start at just $30, and family memberships start at $50. So I'd like to encourage more Bahamians to join our organization. Thank you.
And I just like to say I look forward to seeing as many folks there as possible. And people should register as soon as possible because space is limited. Auditorium holds 400 folks. That may seem like a lot, but based on the interest that we are hearing and getting, we need to register as soon as possible.
They can register by just going down to COB or go online and register.
Go online, bnt.bs, and look for the BNHC tab.
Wonderful. All right, let's take it to the break. When we come back, there's a lot more to talk about. Eric gave you a little insight. Shh, don't mention those words. He talked about all of this stuff about what has happened in the House of Assembly this week that dominates the news, all that has happened at the Paradise Island Beach that has been dominating the news. I got some text messages where people told me that today a number of individuals were arrested for tearing down the fence, and they got locked up today. Did you know that? We're going to talk about it in just a minute right here on Hard Copy after these words. Yeah, that's us. Thank you all.
Absolutely, man.
not completely down. And so there were some who allegedly went and they removed the fence that was still blocking the pathway to go to the beach and do what they were doing and selling their wares and so forth and so on. And of course, there were car operators and taxi drivers, I suppose you may call them, who also take people across to that beach to enjoy the beaches, which is a public beach. And there are a number of people who come from the cruise ship to enjoy it. So I want to find out from any lawyer today who's listening in, and I know I have many of them listening. Please, can they be charged? And can that stand up in court? They can be charged. Obviously, that happened today. But can that stand up in court? What's your take on that? All things considered, this is supposed to be access to a public beach, and it's being obstructed by a fence. It was before by a gate. I know it sounds kind of like a small matter to some people, but if you saw me getting these text messages today in WhatsApp and this cry for help, they want to know what can be done. And they were prepared to do interviews today. Now, I don't know the number that I got here to call. I called it and it was just ringing. So I don't know if this person even got let out today, one of the drivers who would text me this information. But it's quite interesting. So John, Holly, and Calvin, others, Ellsworth, what's happening here? Merit Store, can this happen? And what should be their course of action? And what do you, the public, think? 325023546. Did you expect this or not? 325025205, 325024243. Give me a call. Let me hear what you have to say about it. And what is that? And what else is there to talk about today here is also the matter that's hanging over from yesterday. Big event that took place in the House of Assembly. There are people who are still feeling a little something about it. And there are some who are questioning what the church is saying about it. And there are some who are saying that the church got funky. And there's some who texted me last night and said, listen, not because the leaders of some of these church organizations are saying what they're saying. They have a personal agenda, is what somebody said to me last night. Says that makes no sense. They don't speak for their parishes. They don't speak for their denomination. I'm like, what? You mean the bishops don't speak for their denomination? Does the bishop speak for you? A part of his denomination, the Catholic Church, that this should be supported. Does the Anglican Bishop Blaise Boyd speak for you in the Anglican faith? Talk about it, because they need to know what you're thinking. And on top of that, as we talk here today, and this is our final hour, I want to say this to you too, that you must go out and vote. Listen to me clearly now. You must go out and register your vote in the referendum when it comes up. I'll tell you why. It's very important. You must register to vote, friends, because if you don't register to vote, and if you don't go there and register your votes, what I want to say, during the referendum on this particular gender equality bill and vote on the four of them, you will be helping it to pass. The only way that this cannot be allowed into the law of the Bahamas is if people get up to vote and they vote in the negative. If they get up to vote and they vote no. If you don't go to vote, you are encouraging the passage of these four bills. Do you get me? In other words, this is because, I'll tell you why, this is because this is a constitutional matter where it is binding. It's not like the referendum of the gambling that was said to be binding. And then, of course, some people said, well, it's not like that. This is a constitutional position that has to be done to be made into our law. And so it's binding in every which way. If you don't go out there and you don't vote at all, and you just say, well, I'm checking for it, then you lose. So you have to exercise your X on this particular matter, or it will become a part of the life and ways in the Bahamas. I can't put it no simpler than that. If you don't go, in other words, you can't say, mine ain't mine, they going to do this. I ain't going to do I ain't even checking for that. But I ain't checking for that. You better check for it. And if you're against it, you better vote no for it. Now, if you are for it, you better vote yes for it. But to say you're not going out there to vote and that will register as a boycott, foolishness. This is binding. And I will tell you that every day is a reminder, because there's some who have been so discouraged by the whole thing, they're like, well, I'm not participating. Well, you have got to participate. And for good or for bad, for positive or negative, for yes or for no, you've got to participate. Let's run through all the lines this afternoon. This is hard copy 325-023546. You can call me. I'm listening to what you have to say as well. You can also send me a text or send me a WhatsApp at 3769234. Hard copy, how are you?
Hi, Mr. McKinney, how are you?
Very good, sir.
This is the gentleman that you called earlier that called you, texted you.
Oh, yes.
About.
Understood. What's happening? What's the latest?
Well, I was arrested this morning, but downtown by the dock, pertaining to the incident happened over and pertaining to the fence.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there was a lot of participation of a lot of drivers, taxi drivers, tour drivers, members of the public, DNA, FNM, and other members of the
Yes.
that was out there.
Mm-hmm.
As I was going on tour this morning, I was approached by an officer that told me I must let my guest out of the vehicle. I must come and go with him. So I asked him what the situation was. He said pertaining to the Bahamas Party about it. So he came in the vehicle with me into my tour bus.
Mm-hmm.
Over Party Island. As I was arrested, took off my belongings, wherever I had to. I had an interview with them. They asked me some questions on what's going on. If I tear the fence down, I said no. I said I'm a participant in the march and the protest.
Mm-hmm.
They further questioned me, took me down to see you, fingerprint me, took pictures of me, got my information, proceeded to Master Paradise Island, where they released me on police bail. And I came and signed my bail for me. And I'm out. But it just goes to show you that in this country, you don't have a voice of opinion. On
but what did they charge you with? They charge you with?
They charged me with damages to the property on various items.
To your knowledge, you were the only person who was charged?
I was the only person who was charged. They're looking for more people that was there. And like I said, I have to go to court on Thursday at 10 o'clock. Next week, Thursday. I'm trying to find out these folks have legal representation on what's going on. But I don't know what the outcome is going to be. But I stand my ground, and that's what's going on in this country. You stand your ground, you're being arrested.
Yeah.
So I don't know what else to say to you.
Well, I appreciate you clarifying that for us and speaking truth to power on the matter and being right up front. I'm getting text messages here now on WhatsApp. People need to march again to court, is what these people are saying here to me. Does that discourage you, though, sir, from participating?
It doesn't discourage me, but the way it was done, where I had people in my vehicle,
Yeah.
I
And so it did look bad in front of your guests. They told you to let the guests out.
Yes, and one of the ladies' kids, they had like a panic attack because they had the inspectors and everybody downtown, the inspector, and I wouldn't call any names or whatever, I feel like that. But I gave my people to another tour driver to take care of them, and he lost the people. The people said they didn't want to go anymore. But it just goes to show you, they can do it at a different level where I said, well, okay, I'll meet you at the station if I'm finished with my tour.
Right.
I'll come by the station and proceed to get the information, whatever you guys need from me. But it didn't work like that. They told me to let the people out of the bus, let them go out as well. And one person came into the bus with me and drove me over Paradise Island.
This was a senior police officer?
Yeah. He's not a senior police officer, but he's a senior constable.
Yeah, like
and then I dealt with the senior officers over there, and they released me on police bail, like I said before. I'll have to charge me with damages. I have to go to court next week, Thursday. They're looking for other drivers that was there at the time. They took their videos when we were there, so they know exactly who was there,
right,
who wasn't there, and they know certain people.
So somebody had to press charges But you see, if the police came and arrested you to charge you with damages, somebody obviously said that they made a complaint. Somebody made a complaint to the police.
He said the person of the property on Paradise Island made a complaint about breaking down that fence. But numerous vendors broke down that fence. Numerous members of the public broke down that fence. There were senior officers on property at the time, and that fence was being broken down.
Yes, of course.
There were members of both parties, DNA and FNM, and members of the public with the vendors would broke that fence down.
Yeah.
But it looked like I'm the only one they found to put this on, but it ain't gonna work like that because that ain't making no sense to me.
No, it doesn't. And you know what's interesting here is that if a person has complained that they want damages or you want damage the fence was also still in the way of a public access.
Yes.
And it should not have been there. And while I can't condone anybody touching anything on any property, I can say this, that it was in a way of an impediment, a hurdle for people not to be able to go onto the beach. And the Prime Minister of the Bahamas told the nation by 3 o'clock that morning, when the negotiations were going on with these people at Access and Brooksfield, that the fence was down and that people had access to the beach. Now,
when we reached down there, Mr. McKinney, that morning, we reached out, we marched, Mr. McCartney, Dr. Sands, Dr. Minnis marched down there. We arrived there about 7:25 that morning.
Yeah.
The fence was still up, sir. You know, where they had the gate that open and closed?
Yes, I know.
That part of the fence was actually pulled aside, but it's not taken down.
Wasn't taken completely down.
Right.
This is what I reported when I did my live report. Yeah, this is what I reported. And then, of course, it was kind of rolled back. I saw it.
It rolled back,
Yeah.
right, correct. But what I want to find out from you is something was never gazetted. Never gazetted at that property at the time. Never was closed within a year.
No, you have rights to that. They made a mistake from Access, is what George Capron was telling us the other day. Whoever is supposed to be the new property owners never gazetted anything, giving any public warning that this thing was shutting down. Nothing of that nature happened. They've bungled up all over this thing, and now Bahamians are being made to pay. What's interesting here is that the government of the Bahamas have been negotiating, I happen to know, with them to make sure that the access would still be there. And to see now that they've gone even behind what the Prime Minister had said, what if we go on the radio and say the Prime Minister lied to the Bahamian people?
Because from 1987 to
because
now 2020.
Yes, it was up to, that's correct. And see, but
okay, that was fine, whereas we cannot go on the beach. That was fine last year.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense to us. It's like you hiding stuff from the Bahamian public.
Well, somebody isn't telling us the truth. But listen here, I wish you the best of luck. I would get it back in contact with you. I'm sure that some lawyers are listening.
When you text me, my name is there.
Yeah, I got your name. I have everything here. And so I have your number. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pass it on to a couple of wonderful lawyers who will be happy to stand there with you and deal with the matter. And I'm sure this may touch off something else now, because if that's what they did and trying to file charges and the police came and arrested you and taken you to court.
My bus actually get
yeah.
out of my bus.
Well, that sounds like retaliation, not by the police. The police would be doing their job if somebody complained. If somebody complained, I made a complaint, then the police will act, and that's what happened. They will not act.
They said to me that Mr. Brookfield find a complaint of the fence being broken down on Paradise Island.
I see.
All right. So all I can say is that whatever belongs to the Bahamian people at the end of the day, they try to make sure that this country is fair and correct. And it looks like it's not going that way. Yeah. They're not in the interest of the people.
Yeah. Well, that's another argument for another day. But I'm telling you, what you have told me just now opens another can of worms, because obviously I know for a fact that there have been ministers of the government trying to make this thing go away and ease up and all that. It seems like this is being amplified now because the people at Access and Brooksfield, they don't like what has happened. And they have retaliated, obviously, by saying that they're going to make charges for those who would have taken down their fence. In other words, they were not paying the Right Honorable Perry Glaston Christie any mind. Because if he told the nation that the fence was down and access has been restored, then guess what? And it wasn't. somebody told him fibs, or he told us stuff that didn't make any sense. All right. So I appreciate your call, my friend, and keep posted. Let me see what the other people are saying today.
No problem. God bless, man. Thanks a lot.
All the best. Okay, great. So one taxi driver, a tour operator, arrested today. According to his story, they're looking for others who would have had something to do with the tearing down of the fence, as was printed in one of the newspapers. Torn down, said the headline. And this is quite interesting. What are your thoughts? 325-023516. Hard copy, how are you?
Hello, Mr. McKinney.
Hi there.
I noted at 2:47 or thereabouts that morning when the statement was issued that the Prime Minister had negotiated for the access to be restored. The way it was worded, it did not sound very clear or very sure. Women of the Bahamas have the right of eminent domain.
Absolutely.
Therefore, access to the beach that's all clouded in the purchaser's mind, and that is sad. The government has the right to open the road. But if you will reread the statement, and as a member of the press, I'm sure you got it too, it is very, very, very cloudy and fudgy, and it's not clear. It talks about some temporary arrangement. What is that about?
Yeah.
The government has the authority to declare anybody's property a road. Doesn't have to ask permission, just make the declaration.
Well,
And so what I'm saying to the brother who you just spoke with, we're going to now have a test to see who is suited to lead. Because those people, the lawyers who brought the matter up and who pointed it out to the general public, they must have the character to now stand with those people who stood for their rights.
I agree.
And either we're right or we're wrong. And if you're in the right, then you have nothing to fear. You're right. The police had a complaint to follow up upon, and it's sad that crew that got him was so classless as to embarrass the guests, the tourists of the country. That is really sad. But now I look to see who of the legal team that already advised these people of their rights will now stand with those people and see it through. Because either we're right or we're wrong. I think they have a right.
Yes, they do, and I'm sure that there will be representation of these individuals. I'm making a plea out for those lawyers right now. There are all kinds of lawyers who were there. There, Toby Ferguson and
the opposition, the leader of the DNA, and that gentleman should not be made to pay any cost. Either we're prepared to fight for this country, like Sylvia said, or we will lose it.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I appreciate your call.
Disturbed that the government is so-called getting the thing corrected came out so lame, but I know that statement was not written by the Prime Minister, and whoever wrote it for him betrayed a very weak approach. We have the authority to declare anybody's property a main road. When do we lose it? And we pay you later.
Yeah.
What's the problem?
Yeah. And on top of that, what is happening here is that notwithstanding all this controversy that's been sparked from this, you still have the audacity of those who are here, access, and I can say that, in Brooksville, who are the alleged complaints, the alleged persons who are complaining, the plaintiffs, who have gone to the police to say, look, our fence has been damaged, we want something done about it. And this is almost like now a witch hunt, retaliation to, in my mind,
some things you got
some things
there may only be a few hundred people affected by that, but thousands of behaviors are prepared to leave whatever they're doing to come there and see about it.
Yeah.
We shouldn't want that to happen.
I don't think so.
An international headline as we block that bridge. Yeah. That is what will happen next if it is not dealt with. What's wrong with these people? They don't understand who they're dealing with?
Maybe they judge us by how they judge our leaders. If our leaders are weak, and
but the people aren't. The people are merely weak, which is an acceptance of law and order, which is accepting the right of the police officer to tell us move over. We accept that. But that is not the end of the day. We have courts where law is decided. And the law says because those people had no right to block that road. Now, surely that gentleman will win at the end of the day. I just trust that the leaders, those who wish to be leaders here, will stand with the people and defend their rights.
Absolutely.
And I tell you, if they can't do it, we need to be looking for other leaders.
No question about it. I appreciate your call. Thank you kindly. Wonderful. Interesting. 325-023546. What do you think? They were blocking a public access. As far as we know, there had been nothing gazetted to say that this thing had changed. George Capron made that point. A lot of people missed that point. And so really they can't do what they tried to do to put up any new gate around this thing to keep people out. And we knew that they gave the government 60 days, which was up on the 29th of February. But notwithstanding that, we had government ministers who were negotiating, including the prime minister, who had said that, look, the thing has come down after Dr. Minnis had said, we need to see this thing down or we'll beat to the bridge tomorrow morning. Somewhere through the night, the word came down by email from the office of prime minister that Christie had negotiated something with the people and that the access was restored. But now we had another case where, would you believe that there are people with the audacity to even pursue this further, amplify this more? What are we dealing with? Hard copy, how are you? Hard copy, how are you? All right, I don't have anything there, so let me go to the other lines.
Hello.
Hard copy, yes, how you doing?
I'm fine, and you? How are you?
Very good, thanks.
Okay, yeah, I'm calling in reference to the gentleman, the taxi driver who said he got off of the day.
Yeah.
There's a fight going on, Mr. McKinney.
Yes, tell me about it.
There's a fight going on, and I think the humans now need to open their eyes, and either we're going to stand and be together, because if the gentleman, if I heard him correctly, he said he has to go to court on Thursday.
Yeah, he goes to court on Thursday, 10 o'clock, right across in Nassau Street Magistrate Court.
Public, we need to go down to the court, because see, this is a fight, and nothing good worth fighting for. We're going to have to stand, because this is just a bunch of pettiness going on right now.
Yeah. Well, they perhaps trying to teach some people a lesson.
Yeah, and then I've understood it from one of my family members today that they were the people on the beach again asking for certain people to be locked up again today.
You mean
they probably were on TV or they camera shots them or whatever.
You mean out to the beach, Cabbage Beach?
Cabbage Beach today. And looking for more persons to lock up. So, I'm saying to the nation, we have to stand. Because if we're gonna save anything right now is worth dying for and fighting for right now in this country.
Well, Christie had better get up on the horn and say something, because Christie told these people, okay, that the thing was clear, and I don't know if he did that to neutralize them or distract them or to say that to them so they don't go to Paradise Island. Which, if that's what he did, that was a weak move. If it wasn't real. And I want to believe my prime minister that he don't have time to talk nonsense, that he in fact had negotiated something with these people, Brooksfield and Access, and that I want to believe that they have reneged on whatever that is that they had reneged on it and didn't open the gates completely for it to be done. I mean, it cannot be both. It has to be one or the other.
Yeah.
And I see your point, and certainly they should not try to waken the sleeping giant.
Yes, they should not. And
that won't be good for Christie.
My correcting me now. One person on the beach on Cabbage Beach got locked up today.
My goodness.
Yeah, they got locked up today, and they were looking for probably a few more. But I just want to say to the gentleman who called, I'm asking him to be strong. And sometimes situations come up like this, and you have a testimony, and we as people in the country, we're going to have to stand, because this is what the fight is all about.
I appreciate your call. Thank you very kindly.
Okay, so thank you.
325-023546. What do you make of this? I personally believe that it's a foolish thing to go behind. Sometimes, you ever heard about turning the other cheek? Sometimes we've got to turn the other cheek. The people have a right to the beach access. Let's get that straight. It's always been there. It's undeniable. Okay, so they went over there, and it wasn't done as if the prime minister had said that they had negotiated, and while it was temporarily open, the people could have access. So when they went there, the gate wasn't really open, was it? So there were some people enthusiastic, overly exuberant in some cases, but not from any violent point of view. The police stood right there. if they were breaking the law and if the policeman did not get instruction, and see, I can say this, I was there. The policeman stood almost 50 yards away from them, a battalion of police officers dressed in their clothing that could be considered riot gear, but they didn't have any masks and stuff like that on. But they neatly dressed, wonderful Bahamian policemen standing across. They didn't do anything to stop anybody from doing anything that may have been against the law, and they would be well trained in the law. But you see, the trouble is this, they would have been acting just like the other Bahamians were acting, that they have access to the beach now because the nation's chief executive had made mention between 1 and 3 o'clock that morning that don't worry about going over to the protest and demonstrate because the gates are open. Look at the 4 miles, look right up. Do you see the point? See, what I'm getting at here, friends, it is this. The Prime Minister is either the Prime Minister with a voice of power and authority in this country, or he is not. You can't have it both ways. Either the Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Perry Glass Christie, is a man of power and might and authority in this town to be respected by his citizens and any other person in this jurisdiction, or he is not. Because it's the audacity of people to go and go and further amplify this matter is a little bit beyond me. I'm thinking they should sit small, leave that alone, and try to deal with it another way. But now if they've pressed charges and they've gone to the police and say, look, these people break down our gate, we want them to repair this, or we want damages, notwithstanding this is blocking the public access. I need a lawyer. Are there any lawyers in the Bahamas this evening listening into the hard copy? My lines are full right now. Let me just check these lines because somebody's got to tell me something and help the brother out who was arrested. And there are more to be arrested, I suppose, on this weekend. And they may not be as fortunate as the tour operator who was arrested in the front of his guests and had to let them off his bus. And even though he's been let out on police bail, he will never forget that embarrassing situation. And he shared it with you, the Bahamian people, today. Let's go to lines. Hard copy, how are you?
Good afternoon, Steve. How are you doing?
Very good, thank you.
I'd like to say good afternoon to you. And, hello?
I'm listening to you, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, my question is, since this successive government has really walked on the rights of the Bahamian people over the years, you saw when they sold BTC, people had to go. When they sold BEC, people have to get laid off. It seems as if Bahamians, the rights of the people of this country don't matter to any government. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I'd like to encourage the taxi driver to stay strong. I am on his side. I'm keeping him in my prayers. And I know that everything is going to work out just fine. So don't be discouraged.
Well, I appreciate what you're saying, and I'll tell you this. If this taxi driver, this tour operator he is arrested and charged, which he was, goes before the court and is convicted, that in itself, my friend, is an indictment on every Bahamian, black and white, in this town. You got me? It's an indictment. How? Because that's exactly what they want to send the message to. That you ain't gonna do that, this their property, and they have been hurt by the actions of people protesting on something that the Bahamian people have a right to and always had access to. Man, you could consider that a serious indictment on us as people that, we don't run nothing. The others run things, and, it doesn't give anyone the right to damage or break up anyone's property. I'm not saying that. Not at all. But I'm saying this, that in light of the controversy, in light of the nastiness that has ensued here, you would think that some big people who are supposed to be investors in this town would take a different attitude and a different approach to this particular matter and not go behind and try to see if they can get a bunch of people arrested for this fence that was blocking the public access. Hard copy, how are you?
Good afternoon, Mr. Kennedy. How you doing again?
I'm good. I'm good.
Hello?
I'm fine. How are you?
Yeah, good. Mr. McKinney, when you were over
Yeah, no,
But I sent you, I know you got the video I sent you the video. What really came about the bridge fiasco, really, was when I saw the inspector, you know, those people that were sitting down on the bridge the day before.
Mhm.
When I saw that inspector kicking that gentleman in his chest and everything with them big black boots, that really, I couldn't understand how a Bahamian, a black Bahamian, could be kicking another black Bahamian, laying down on his back on the ground.
Mhm.
I can't fathom that with the Mr. McKinney. I try to get over that because that is scaring me as to what this country really coming to. Because look like some other things might be down the road, and sound like some people prepared to do some serious, painful fighting on some Bahamian people if they don't stand up for our rights. Sound like we you know, it reminds me of General Custer when he was trying to run the Indians back up on the reservation. You know, I think they're trying to get the Bahamian people to go get back in the crowd basket and don't try to crawl out no more. They're trying to surround us and put us in a little love on reservation. How was it, Dave?
I appreciate your call. Hi, Copy, how are you?
Good afternoon, Mr. McKinney. Good afternoon, Bahamas.
Yes, sir.
I'm listening to your conversation this evening, and something came to mind.
What was that?
When Mr. Wilshcombe was being interviewed on the steps of the cabinet office, the reporter asked him a series of questions, but he, in response to the series of questions, one point he said that the fence was erected to keep the vendors off the beach.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I said to myself, and my son said to me, but if you erect a fence to keep the vendors off the beach, wouldn't they keep the tourists off the beach? Wouldn't they keep other Bahamians who want to access the beach off?
Yes.
So even my son, who's not that old, realized that what Mr. Wilshcombe was saying was found to be a bit pervasive.
Mm-hmm. Well, I will tell you what he was talking about. The attitude has been that they don't want them vendors on that beach, and the powers that be made sure put up a fence so that they can't get them vendors over there. And the truth be told, they don't want to see some people on that beach selling their wares. They don't want them there. They don't want some people who are not as light in complexion or as in hue on that beach. That's a fact. That's a fact. They talk about it all the time. I've been hearing about stories of people sicking the dogs on the people who jog on that beach. Black Bahamians, I'm telling you, who jog on that beach. And the dogs were chased by dogs that the owners seeked on the dogs, as we say. Let me tell you, see, what is happening here, your government has to speak loud and clear. And when I say your government, I'm talking about the chief of the government in this country must speak loud and clear. Mr. Christie needs to get up and say something right now, because you know what? He can stop a lot of crazy stuff from happening. If that man was arrested today and they're out there looking for other people to arrest them for what they call breaking down the fence or causing damage or whatever it is, right? Somebody needs to succinctly get the answer from Mr. Christie. If in fact he had said and indicated that the fence had been removed and access restored on the morning in question, the first day of March, because we must not miss the boat on this. That's what he told the nation. That's why a lot of people said, oh, I can stay home then. That was all over the newscast. Come now, let us be real.
I agree with you 110%, but also too, there were more prominent persons who named carry more weight, other than the mayor taxi driver and the mayor vendors on the beach who was involved with.
Man, I saw preachers and all kind of people over there. What are you talking
about? They really wanted, the leader of opposition was there, others were there. Well, why pick up the small man?
Yeah.
And so, that seems to be their tactic, beat down the weak and the small and the weak, and hopefully the rest will fall in line. But I think they're backing up the wrong trade.
Yeah, I appreciate your call. I don't know what to make of it. It's fresh off the press, so we're just getting this for the first time and looking at it and talking about it and trying to figure out, my only thing here, I understand the police did their job if somebody made a complaint. But I also understand that, I would not have the audacity to do such a thing when I've already caused all this controversy as an owner of this alleged property. And I always knew that there had always been access to this public beach. And even though I may not want certain people on there, there's a access road to the beach that I acknowledge as a part of this property that the government of the Bahamas has every right to get. Eminent domain, compulsory acquisition. Come on now. What is it that we're looking for? Big controversial stuff that happened here? I think Mr. Christie and those need to, nip it in the bud and do what they have to do. Hard copy, how are you?
Good evening, brother. How you doing?
Yes, Anton. What apologies you got for me now?
I have no apologies. I'm just calling to speak to the fact. You would have read off a couple of days ago 2 letters from the attorneys of access, correct?
Yes, I did.
One
from the attorney of access and one from the owners of the property. What's it? Right. Brooksfield, right? Mm-hmm.
Right. So in those letters, Mr. McKinney, right? Clearly, Mr. Johnstone, the attorney representing from Lanark State, stated that Brookfield had fulfilled its obligations to beach access. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's what he said.
Right. Now, here's the thing, Brother McKinney. When I looked at that press statement, I looked at it several times since I started to tune in to our copy this afternoon. It clearly states that the Prime Minister reached out, right, and had negotiated for access to keep the opening or the access point there for the beach vendors until a more permanent location could be identified and worked out, right? Mm-hmm. That in itself tells me, Brother McKinney, that clearly as it relates to the law, access is well within their right to be doing what they're doing from a legal perspective, and the only, based on the Bahamas being a society and a nation of law and order, the only other remediation to this matter would be through the court to make a determination on behalf of the people.
Listen to me. Nobody is arguing anything if access got any right to do anything. Obviously, they've got right to do things that they can even keep your government at a distance. Obviously, the government believes that they own the property. They have the papers on the property. No one is questioning that. You know what I'm questioning, Anton Thompson? The audacity of them to turn around and even further pursue this matter from a point where they've already caused the people's vexation to be yuck up in this country. Do you get me?
I understand your
point. Well then listen, that's what I'm saying. I ain't asked you nothing about who own no property. I have the documentation here. That is not the point. If you look at what the Minister of Tourism has also been saying, trying to bring clarity to this matter. Hold on, back on. These people really, Brooksfield and Access, did all of this thing, notwithstanding that the public have access to that beach. They did this to keep vendors off. That's where their thinking is limited. They don't give 2 cents apparently to what the other Bahamians have, and every Bahamian have access to. Do you get that? And I'm saying,
here's what I want to conclude.
But what I'm saying to you, see, I don't want you to come here trying to muddy anything. I'm telling you something, and you need to listen today. All right? Put down your brief and try to listen, son. You're a Bahamian, right? Act like one. Now, listen to me. When you're in a man's country and you then cause all of this corruption, and you turn around to go now and seek their police on them because of something that offended you, when you knew that you had done this to these people to offend them, you need to sit small. That's what I'm saying to you. And the government needs to make sure that they understand the culture of this country. They don't understand the law and order, right? Yeah, but the law and order is fine. They did what they did. And all I'm saying to you is that I'm giving expression to an opinion here based upon how they can have the audacity to even further injure people by doing what they're doing. They should leave it alone and work it another way. That's what I'm saying to you.
This hurts my soul, Brother McKinney. And I'll tell you why.
I don't know if this hurts your soul.
I'll tell you why, Brother McKinney. Because when I heard and I participated in that call-in that afternoon when Dr. Thompson was on the show, it hurt my heart to hear Dr. Minnis, the leader of the official leader of the Royal
damn it, man, you got to stop talking politics, you know. Yes, man, that's what your problem is. You've got to listen to some things. We are Bahamians, and the bottom line is this.
If you didn't do that for the McKinney,
If
our
you
guys
didn't do
would
what?
not be.
Listen, stop it, please, stop it. Foolishness. Foolishness. That's what our problem is. These people have been able to divide and conquer us for centuries. There's no difference. Some smart ass is going to tell me here today that we are in a position where these people who have come here, who have not acknowledged that we have access to that beach, who want people off that beach, can go and further amplify the matter by doing what they have done. Some things you leave alone. That's what my point is. I'm not questioning whether they own any property, because obviously they own the property. If Perry Christie, the Right Honorable Perry Christie, is begging them to give Bahamians a break, my God. My God. What the hell is this? You trying to tell me that we don't know how to exercise eminent domain, or we can't do it? What's the real story here? Is the real story that we did something out of the way, untoward, clandestinely, that we don't want to come out? When I say we, I'm talking about our government. What is the real story here? I have copy. How are you?
Hello, Mr. King. How you doing?
Good.
Okay. What the caller was talking about just now is talking a bunch of foolishness. Why? Because the people who own the property, AFPs and Brooksons who own the property, they don't respect the government. Because the government will come and tell us on Sunday on the beach that the beach can stay open and the people get locked again Monday. It's clear that they don't respect the property. Furthermore, a ton of police came on the beach today with the recordings that they seen guys jumping down the fence, and they say they charging people for breaking down people's property, damaging people's property in these cases, right? But why are they not charging the police? The same pollution kickers, the taxi driver all over on the government road. Why are they not taking on a government uniform and charging them for police brutality? Even the police who coming on the beach looking for the same vendors from doing that, and he kicked them out on the road, and they ain't taking on the police uniform yet and charging one maybe on half pay or something. Why he's still on his phone looking for these same people who yuck down the gate or whatever they just accusing the people for yucking down the gate that they put in front of the government easement for people to use the beach. That ain't right. And the same police officer who stopped, kicked, drive the taxi driver over the road, he is the man who coming on the beach looking for people to arrest people. Why is he not get arrested or
I got your point.
uniform
Yeah.
and put on half pay and get the resources? They're looking for everybody to charge everybody, but they ain't charging an officer yet who stopped the guy all over the road.
Wow.
That's clearly on national, all over the internet, all over social media. Not on social media just as well as the people yucking on the gate, but they didn't do that with the expected. They coming for the simple man, yucking the simple man off his job and charging the man. That ain't right. That's not fair to be in the people. Because we ain't fighting for nothing. We ain't only fighting for what is ours. Just say what our forefathers fight for.
Yeah, I appreciate your call. I feel what you're saying. Let me just say this now. I believe that the government has to make moves to step in and deal with this whole matter. This right there has the potential of being very explosive. You hear what I tell you? I know it when I see it, you know. You know it has the potential to be very explosive because to add insult to injury is how the Grammy them would say it. To add insult to injury, you want these Bahamians picked up now for opening up the fence. To add insult to injury, it's very dangerous. It is uncalled for. It is foolish. I saw the fence, you know. In fact, let me tell you, when I was over there and I did the interviews, I said to the gentleman who's picking up the fence off the ground, a part of the fence, I said to him, I said, "What you doing with this fence?" He didn't look up. I said, "You selling that, eh?" He said, "You see any for sale sign?" This is David Belly. He was put on the back truck. He said, "You see any for sale sign on this truck?" I said, "I didn't ask you for no for sale sign." I say, "So if you ain't selling that fence, you're gonna go dump that, eh?" He says, "Oh, that's you, eh, Steve?" He say, "No, we can recycle this fence." I've got witnesses. What am I saying here? Some people are pushing the envelope on a matter that shouldn't happen, you know. They then supposed to have talked with the prime minister and leave this thing alone. They then have the opposition leader go across with people and all the unions go across with people. And the vendors, a temporary, I suppose, victory to go to the beach. But there's a bigger picture here that we have been missing. Not we, some people I know who like to call the show. there's beach access for every Bahamian to that public beach. Don't miss it, Anton. You may want to keep the vendors out, Brooksfield and access, but you cannot miss the fact that there's public access, a right of access to that beach. Not just an easement, but a right of access. Mr. Christie and his cabinet and them seem to be missing that. They're not speaking to that. Others seem to be missing that. And now it seems to be a witch hunt to go and find these people who had to do with removing the fence, the last vestiges of this fence that was blocking the public access, and arrest them and take them to court. And I'm saying to you that you think that they should amplify to this, really? Even if the fence only so big, must be about 20 feet of fence. Think of it. Think of it. If that ain't a nasty attitude to have in the country, as an investor, you think that no Bahamian managers over there who can tell them, man, leave that alone. Don't mess with that. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about if they have any right. Sometimes you've got to turn down your right. Sometimes you've got to turn the other cheek. I just said that. Someone, Anton, called me, but I'm not interested in it. Everybody has rights. And if they got right, fine. If they want to do this to the court, fine. This thing is in court already, you know, this particular case. The vendors took them to court. They need to have access. But I suppose if we want to lay down and play there, there's no big deal, then do so. But don't make no noise no more in this country but nothing. Just let the whole thing just deteriorate to nothingness. In the exuberance to defend a government that seems to be incompetent, these guys got it right. Yeah, okay, good. Hi, Coffee, how are you? Hi there.
Good day, Steve McKinney.
Hi there, ma'am. How are you today?
And I'm calling on the cabinet speech issue.
Mm-hmm.
The government right now is very weak, and the investor, the private investors, is clearly not respecting this government. And it's so sad in the history of the Bahamas that a government would allow a private investor to treat his people the way they treat them. And the way in which I saw officers treated those persons on that bridge was unacceptable. And today, not only one driver was arrested. We had numerous vendors that was arrested on Cabbage Beach today, and they are still looking for others. And I think it's very poor that you would try to put in the spirit of those persons who stand up for what is right, try to put intimidation in their spirit to say, hey, look, if you try it next time, this is what's going to happen. The government just needs to stand up to this private investor and let him know that the easement is a private for the Bahamian people. It's very ridiculous what is going on in this place. And how I look at it right now, it is a revolution that's going on.
Well, that's what I'm saying too, you know, that we've got to be careful how we deal with this particular matter because the people have already been irritated. I mean, Kirsty, them should know the people are irritated. I know one thing, the Minister of Tourism knows how irritated these people are. I know that. I know the Minister of Transport knows how irritated these people are. And I know that a lot of people in the government may also be irritated at these particular owners of this property because there should have been a more amicable way of working and dealing with this problem. But some people ain't listening.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
And with the taxi driver who got locked up and those drivers who got locked up on the beach today, I myself, along with many others, are willing to go down there to court with them on Thursday to just stand with them because what they have done was a bold move and the right move. And I see nothing wrong with them actually standing up for their right because if they hadn't damaged that fence, a lot of Bahamian homes would have been damaged because we have a lot of persons who worked out there. Mm-hmm. And these are our brothers, sisters, mothers, and fathers who've been negatively impacted by this move with access in the streets. It's ridiculous. The government needs to get a backbone and just stand up for the people.
I'm with you on that. You know, I appreciate your call. I don't advocate, and I don't want anyone to say I do. Anyone damaging anything at any time. I told you when I started this segment this evening that I started the program on the day in question, the first day of March, when I did the live broadcast by asking a specific question. How did the fence come down? I have that soundbite, right? Because I did speak to the lawyer at the time as well. And I did talk about this fence coming down. I did say that there are people who, in fact, would want to blame somebody and make something big out of it because some feelings got hurt. And I asked that question, just how did the fence come down? You have that? You have that? Okay, all right. We'll play that in just a minute. Let me get these calls. Hot Copy, how are you? Hot Copy, how are you?
Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon. How are you?
Good evening, Mr. McKinney, and all of my Bahamian people. I'm going in reference to the Paradise Island, the gate, the fence coming down.
Yeah.
In reference to the police, I think that the police should know the laws of the land, really, and if they're given instructions to go in and remove the people, they should know that they have access. You know, even if they were given instructions, shouldn't they stand and say, well, you know, I'm not going to treat my people like this? And
No, they can't. They have to follow.
Bahamian people are ignorant sometimes the way we deal with each other and not stand, we fold. And it's something that we have to stand for.
Yeah,
and
I know what you're saying, but they are police officers. They have to carry out the law. If somebody came there complaining and say that they want to have persons charged with breaking down their fence, they will do their jobs. That's what they do. So I'm not blaming the police, and nobody should blame the police. What I'm saying, though, there's decorum and there's discretion how you do things.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's one point. But the other point is this. I am more concerned about the fact that my government that's running the show have been disrespected in the highest way. And two, that the people who are supposed to be partnering with us as Bahamians in the Bahamas, they seem to have no consideration of their sins, because that's what it is, to have been able to close down a place that's supposed to give people public access to a beach. They have no consideration, no compassion, no care in the world. And to add insult to injury, they've come behind now
And still looking for them.
to further amplify, to further irritate the matter by going to the police and say, I want these people charged because they broke down my fence. Now, there's a level of pettiness and a level of nastiness in that. To me, I'm telling you publicly, you don't have to agree with me, but I'm telling you, that's what I see. Because the bigger people will take a higher road and say, you know what? Okay, that's behind us. Let's finish working with the government, see how fast we can work this thing out. But it seems like some people want a confrontation, or they want a controversy to spill to high heaven, I suppose, on this particular matter. And that's not the way that I think it should happen. Not that I know everything, but I think that the way that this is happening now sparks the kind of contention and the kind of retaliation that we don't need in our country. Certainly we don't need that. And so responsible people in the government ought to step up and get some backbone and say to these people, now listen, what y'all dealing with here? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But they have no say. They have been so disrespected by these owners, you know.
But they don't respect themselves.
It's useless. I appreciate your call. I've got to run. I've got many calls here this afternoon, and let me just take some of these before we go home. Hi, Cobby, how are you?
Hi, Steve. This is Paul.
Hi, Paul.
I want to say that the arrest of these people today and the intimidation of trying to seek the arrest is intended to intimidate Bahamians, because they know the intention of access is to put this fence up again.
Yes.
And they want to intimidate Bahamians from coming back there to rip it down when they do put it back up again.
I see.
Secondly, they also know that that property on which they put the fence over, it is illegal because it is a right of way. And I want to point something out to you, because this happens every year. In a few weeks, we will be at Easter. And Easter, without fail, Milo B. Butler and Sons will block off access to the right of way that Bahamians have been using, or the road that we have been using historically to get to their property there on the back of Beach Street. They would block it off at Easter. And they put a notice in the paper saying that they would do so. Why is that? That is because if they do not do it, and Bahamians use it regularly, uninterrupted, unfettered, it simply means then that they would have an absolute right to it, and there's nothing the matter about that can do about it. What they, by tearing down the fence, the Bahamians are saying that you have put up a fence illegally on our right of way, and therefore the police, who ought to have gotten an opinion from the Attorney General's office to say you should not get involved in a civil matter. It's a civil matter. At any time they put up a fence here, the Bahamians are rightly to go and rip it down because for time immemorial, that breach has never been blocked from Bahamians. Never. So we know we have right and access to it. So we're not concerned that the government gets off or gets fascinated when someone comes to invest, as they say, this person is investing 100 million. So for 100 million, and exchange of maybe about 200 or 300 jobs, they are prepared to take away the rights of Bahamians. There's no way that Brooksfield could, in the sale, transfer that access, that right of way, to some other location. They cannot do it in law. They cannot do it in law. And so when they put up a fence, it is an illegal fence, and every time they put it up, we will go back and take it down. That is what we must do, because I can tell you this. Those men and women who have been arrested or who are being sought to be arrested are representative of all Bahamians.
Absolutely.
They represent me.
Absolutely.
They represent me, because there are people who cannot take a stand. Those who want to take a stand, who can't take a stand. But they're brave enough, I dare say this, that they are more brave than those who represent us. Now, give kudos to Dr. Menace, who really led the charge to go over that bridge. And I say to him that he has an obligation to stand with those people who are arrested. And for many of them, inside the accident, there are many lawyers there who can lend their assistance to this process with them.
Absolutely.
But Dr. Menace has got to be ready to lead the charge again back there, if that's what they do, put up that fence again, because there is no way in law they have a right to it. Brookfield does not have any kind of right to try to say we're moving one right of way to give you another one. It's not theirs to give. It belongs to them and the people. I do, in your audience, think to see in a few weeks what Milo Butler does, and they'll begin to understand that they have no right on Paris Island to do what they're doing.
Understood. Now, of course, we've got a case where there's some people who have been locked up today. And I understand that I see here I've gotten a note from my producer. It is alleged that Lincoln Bean is also in police custody as well for this particular incident. And I have not confirmed that, so I'm saying it's alleged because I just got this note from one of my producers here. I'll tell you this, Paul, that something must happen as far as representation for these people is concerned, because there are any number of lawyers who I'm sure would be willing to take it on.
Yeah, I have no doubt there's going to be representation, but I think the large issue is this, that there's a fight coming.
Yeah,
there's a fight coming.
Yeah.
They have thrown the first blow. I think they know in law that that property does not belong to them. And so they were duty bound, I believe, under the advice of their lawyers, to have those people arrested so that they can tell the court that, yes, in protection of our property, we sought to press charges against these individuals. That's what it is, but there's a fight coming. And that fight must be between them and every single Bahamian who wants to see the end of being treated like second-class citizens in their own country.
I appreciate what you're saying. Thank you kindly for making the call here today. And so you heard from one lawyer and that poor qualified attorney telling you exactly what he said just now. And that brings the point to the fore, as I was saying. You know, it's the audacity of what is happening here. I mean, you know, but in law, they're making a case, but they're also polishing and preparing for a fight, a battle of epic proportions, I believe, because Bahamians could either be beaten down on this one or they can conquer their fears on this particular one. And Dr. Millis has been put on notice that his work may have just begun. Hard copy. How are you?
Hey, Steve, how you doing?
Peace and love. All is well. Yes, sir. How you doing? All is well.
Steve, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can also hear some terrible feedback. What's happening?
All right, Faki here.
Hey, Faki.
I am responding to the thing that you talked about when you talked about the letter that came from the Prime Minister. I'm one of those persons, when you breach procedure and policy, that's when you hear my mouth. In addition to the comment I made the other day with regards to the law that's supposed to be protective of this land on behalf of the human people, my concern is this letter that was written by the Prime Minister coming between 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning. That's an official document that comes to the people saying that the fence was down. And then that morning I understand that one of the coonies of the PLC came on the side and then stopped the minutes and the rest of the crowd. Oh, the fence down, don't go.
Yeah.
But when they reach over the bridge, come to find out that the fence is there. Here's my point. An official document that came from the Prime Minister's office saying something, and then get it was a different story. That means it was a lie. I am saying to you, it is another example now of the Prime Minister telling lies. It's evident. That means they cannot be trusted. And I have a serious problem with that. That is a breach. You send an official document of saying one thing, but it comes to be something else. That is breach. But anytime you breach policy and procedure, and of the thought, that's when you will hear my mouth. I have to put that in there. Something is wrong with that. The people in this country, we can't even believe our leaders. That should tell you that they are finished and they need to give up, pack it up, and go home. That's what I have to say now.
We're not crawling, creeping, or dragging. No, sir. Not at Super Value and Quality Supermarkets. We are marching into this month with terrific savings like first choice sugar to 4 pound bag, $1.79. Surefine cornflakes, 18-ounce box, $1.99. Surefine mac and cheese, the 7 1/4 ounce box, 79 cents. Glade house praise, the 8-ounce can, $2 to $3. Whole chicken wings, $1.59 per pound. Eat well and pay less. That's Super Value and Quality Supermarkets.
In the market for a new car? Then don't miss BOB's Automania New Car Sales and Loan Event. It's the biggest new car sales and auto financing event of the year. Saturday, March 12th, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at BOB's Howell Road branch. Enjoy crazy good deals on new model cars, trucks, buses, and SUVs.
I think it was all right.
With insanely affordable on-the-spot financing from Bank of the Bahamas. Auto
325-0235 or 6. You can also WhatsApp me at 376-9234. You can also text me at 376-9234. I've got calls and I've got text messages. Let me just read a couple of things there for you. This person says, "Good night, Steve. The gentleman said he was charged with damaging the fence. So that could only mean that the access is on private property. Is that not public access? What are these people trying to do with us, Steve? The fight is for our rights. We must not let them take away that from that which is our freedom," is what that person says. I want to say, Steve, you have to stop blaming the government for everything. Some things have to be wrong with you. Something have to be wrong with you. You are insightful. It says here, but we must stop blaming the government for all of these things, right? Okay, well, the government is to be blamed on this one because they ought to govern and ought to tell these people who they were the ones that assisted in 2014 looking at the property that we are talking about in question, and nobody asked any question about the right of way, the public access. So if you think that that the public should not be told that the government is incorrect, that's up to you. And if you mean that I'm insightful, I appreciate that. If you mean that I'm trying to cause some riot, then I disagree with you. But you say that you are insightful. I'm not inciting anything, but I'm insightful. I appreciate that. All right. This one here says, those investors should have been charged with obstruction. The fence ain't business there. So how could he be charged with for something which shouldn't be there? The lady made the point earlier about it being either public access or private property. This one says, the question should be, how did the fence get up? The case is ongoing. Absolutely. That's a very, very good point. This person also says, Steve, the police can't arrest anyone for a fence that was illegally erected in an ongoing court case. He's wanting to say, in an ongoing court case. Quite interesting. Good evening, Mr. McKinney. These investors are only behaving the way they see how our leaders behave toward us. When they don't get their way, petty, spiteful, and vindictive, we as Bahamians need to unite. Maybe we need to march to Parliament and force them to pass legislation that would only allow them to lease our land as opposed to selling it going forward. That's what this person says here tonight on hard copy. And this one says, for all the years vendors being on that beach, every time the PLP get elected to office, they trouble the vendors on the beach. And I work on Cabbage Beach for over 20 years, what this person says. So people are upset, and understandably so, about what has happened. Vendors, not vendors, well, they say 1 or 2 vendors arrested today, and some tour car operators have been rounded up and arrested. They're on bail tonight, police bail, but they go to court. One of them at least go to court on Thursday of this week. Hard copy, how are you?
Watchman here, Steve. How are you?
Very good, thanks.
That person who texted you a while ago of you being a spiteful politician.
Yeah, well, you know, I don't help them to study. I work for the Bahamian people, and I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, because anybody with common sense and air could hear that the people talking.
Yeah.
What I want to say here, Steve, is this: is that 2 questions must be asked in this matter. And the first one that should be asked is, did the vendors of Cabbage Beach have the right to take that fence down? And I think they did.
Yeah.
Second question that must be asked is, was Brookfield operating in the right manner to erect that fence?
Yes.
And I think they were not acting
Yeah.
as such. And therefore, I call on the lawyers for the vendors to seek legal action against Brookfield.
Yeah. For erecting a fence illegally.
Preventing the vendors from going to work as usual.
Yeah.
And my last point here, Steve, is this, is that I wonder who on the police force is leading this campaign called Get Them
because that's what I called it.
Get them.
He called Get Them.
Yeah. I appreciate your insight, my friend. Thank you kindly.
Let me just say this, Steve. Let me just say this last point here.
Mm-hmm.
What this does is this leads me to ask, where is the leadership? And when I said leadership, I talk of the Commissioner of Police and the Minister of National Security. And I don't think the Commissioner of Police is involved in this, because I saw a very senior police officer who's politically connected out there that day. And so I, knowing Mr. Greenslade, I do not think Mr. Greenslade is involved in this. That's all I'll say to that matter.
I appreciate your call. Thank you kindly. Hard copy, how are you?
Good evening, Dave. Okay, man.
Good.
Listen, my brother,
Yes, John.
what a country we live in today. And this is what happened when a government depends on a large foreign investor to hire somebody behind it. When the investor jumps it up, they're high. Now, the thing I accused but I didn't accuse. I had asked for the Minister of Tourism to tender his resignation because he screwed up in this. And on a talk show on Wednesday that I host, he called me and he wanted to try to explain what took place. Because he said that there was a letter prior to the one that we got a hold of, and I thought I wasn't guilty of actually selling the name of people out as relates to the content of that letter. The thing that excites me the most of that letter is when the investor or the person representing the investor who crafted the letter actually said to the minister, just put a gag order on the minister, put a gag order on the minister. And to put a gag order on the minister suggests you put a gag order on the government. And if you put a gag order on the government, you put the gag order on the baby. You're saying, I ain't trying to get this way or no way.
That's right.
I really was offended by the content of that letter. Now, in addition to that, how could you sit down and negotiate with some investor or any person to violate the law of the country? And that's the problem I have. They were trying to accommodate the violation of the law to congratulate the access to that beach. The problem they have is that the United States today, they have a fence separating the real property and that other property. There's tent, and between that fence is an entrance to gain access to the beach vendors in particular. And Paul and all your callers were right on it. Many of them are very intelligent. These people need to know. These persons need to know. They say in the 60s where you could afford the agents with black and white and all that kind of fools and they used to run on it those days. That can't happen no more. You would fully play your roots and all of us. They haven't been educated. I have recorded that call you made the right contribution. Every time somebody left up mouth, somebody called and add something in. And Paul is there right. I think he will be in full support behind those questions. I got there. I got to Python and Cal's Beach that morning. The fence was open, but then all they did is push the fence down a bit together. You know the fence was down. Because we watch Atlanta Star who opened that thing, and we watch them actually break the fight down. And you remember the guy from Baytown that said, the system was breaking the fight. He said, no, I got this. So they actually done with the fence. Don't blame the behaviors. I would go in court, and I would be on a stack of Bible, 10 feet high. I watched that stop, break that fence down, and the guy caught it, like you said, I would tell you actually about 20 foot on the front.
Yeah.
So I don't know why is it that Bahamians are trying to destroy Bahamians for coming on the what happened to the 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 100 million over the concessions that these investors get? That couldn't at least suffice to give us a little 6 feet access to the beach by God. What kind of people do negotiate about the baby people, man?
Yeah, interesting. I appreciate your call, John. We see how this unfolds.
Yeah, man.
Thank you very much. Big John Pinder, the president of the BPSU. Hard copy, how are you? 2 more calls, and that's it. Go ahead, sir. Hard copy, you there? Okay. Hard copy, you there? Are you there? Okay. I'm hanging up. No more calls. Thank you very kindly. I appreciate your participation. You're weighing in on it today. Taxi drivers, as I said, at least a tour bus operator arrested today and let go. And this one seems to be blowing up into something else. And I got a lot of text messages the other day and WhatsApp people zeroing in on this, wanting to really let people know how they feel. We're going to post them up on our Facebook page tonight so that you can go there and take a look at them. And This person says, Steve, you talk about behavior managers. Behavior managers can't tell them nothing about that fence. If they tell them about that fence, they'll fire them. But I don't know what kind of place that is that they're working. This person says, the people of the Bahamas have to fight against access of the government of the Bahamas. Do they really want to take on the fight with the Bahamian people? Do they really want to take on the Bahamian people? This person is asking. This person says, the Bahamas is becoming a fascist state. Say, Anton is a good PLP, but he is not a good Bahamian. Leave Anton alone. This one says, if you all are going tonight, I want to be there. I don't have to go to Bow Pool Room tonight. I want to support my buddy. Oh boy. Anyway, this is what they're saying. Good evening, Mr. McKinney. What is Anton's problem? He just don't get it. He must be a lover of one of them PLP leaders. He don't see no wrong with the foolishness of government. Shame on it. People, Anton, a lot of these text messages I'm not going to read because they're getting down on your case. You seem to be not on the same side of Bahamians, and I know that you are. I know that you are on the same side of Bahamians, my friend. But you know, that's how people are reading what you're saying, because you got this brief for them fellas. I got a lot of text messages. I'm just going to let the producers post them online tonight. There's just too many of them to read. But it's quite interesting, eh? We're going to debate this on Sunday, I'm sure, on the last word, and see what else happens between then and now. If other people will be arrested and charged before the courts with any damages to the people's fence, and see how long Christie and them will take to respond to this, and see if anything will happen out of this, and see if the Bahamian people will have more faith in Christie them at the end of this, or if they'll have less faith in them at the end of this. Because one thing is for sure, Bahamians are totally ticked off about this whole thing. And some people across Paradise Island have added insult to injury with the apparent arrest and warrants of arrest for people who were on Paradise Island and had their hands on the fence. My goodness, what a country. That's our show for tonight, though. We want you to go there, have a beautiful, safe weekend. Do what the good people do. Go to church on Sunday. Pray for this nation. We need the prayers. Pray for those who are going contrary to the things and the ways and the culture of the Bahamas. And prayer changes things. Of course, the atheists and the agnostics and the others, they don't believe a word I said just now. They suck their teeth. But don't mind them. You pray. See what happens. God is good all the time. That's our show for tonight. We'll see you next week, God willing. And of course, we tell you, take care. Take care. All right. Now, let's go home. Hard Copy has been a presentation of the people who make it happen every day of the week, and we thank